including the use of governmental facility, or are in the hands of Hamas. They are the leadership in Gaza. The second thing, Hamas has specifically and intentionally built the military infrastructure inside civilian infrastructure. Matter of fact, when we started evacuating the north of Gaza to start our operation there to eradicate Hamas, we gave weeks of warnings for civilians to evacuate from there. You know who held them there? Hamas. He shot, hold on, let me finish. Let me finish. I'll show you videos. They're all around.
Hamas is holding civilians back?
Yes, and civilians in Gaza are declaring it publicly, risking their life in declaring it in videos.
What we have seen, Mrs. Haskel, is videos of your forces using Palestinians as human shields. Your forces sending civilians in handcuffs into booby-trapped buildings.
Look,
video proof that have been verified.
Look, I
so
don't
there's
know,
proof of
I don't
you
know
using
which videos
human shields.
I don't know which videos you're talking
Plenty
about.
Plenty of videos, and we'll put it in the interview.
I'd love
Israeli forces strapping a civilian Palestinian on the bonnet of an armored vehicle.
Terrorists
to get
who
out.
They actually arrested to take into custody.
So you strap him to the bonnet of your car to get out of a hostile situation? Why don't put him in the car?
Look, obviously, if you want me to watch any particular video, analyze it, I'll be more than happy to do that. Israel does not intentionally harm civilians.
Mrs. Haskel, your forces have shot civilians with white flags. Your forces have shot children. Your forces even shot your own hostages that managed to escape, waving white flags, speaking Hebrew. They were shot.
You know what happened a couple of days just before that? There were Hamas terrorists with white flags, with arms, who were waving that white flag in front of the same brigade, going in front of them, trying to shoot on them. The fact is that Hamas knows our procedures. They're abusing the Israeli mechanism to defend civilians to harm our troops. And do mistakes happen? Yes, they happen. But you need to understand that this is a very difficult war in an urban area where Hamas is using a lot of the mechanism that we did to protect civilians against us. And so mistakes happen, and terrible mistakes happen, including those hostages that you talked about.
Let's talk about some of these mistakes that you're talking about in the Gaza Strip. Specifically the attack on healthcare facilities, hospitals, healthcare workers. All of Gaza's hospitals have been attacked by Israeli forces. Currently, 16 out of 36 healthcare facilities are partially operating according to the UN. Why have your forces destroyed the healthcare in Gaza?
Because they use those medical facilities as military bases.
So all 36 hospitals in Gaza were used by Hamas as military facilities? All of them? Because you bombed all of them.
I can give you a list of the hospitals that we've actually targeted.
No, I'm giving you the numbers.
No, you telling me all does not necessarily...
36 hospitals have been bombed by your forces. Are you saying that Hamas used every single hospital?
Please?
Every single hospital was used by Hamas as a military base?
Okay. Shifa Hospital, yes. We have proof for that, and we've provided it. Nasser Hospital,
what proof was that?
Yes.
Please explain. What proof? You said there was a three-story underground bunker under Shifa.
Videos.
Did you find that three-story underground bunker?
We have images, we have videos, okay? We have intelligence, we have recordings, okay? Matter of fact, to not many, but to a few of our allies who wanted to conduct some investigations, Israel gave access to those foreign military personnel to actually look on those materials as well, okay? Some of them were published as well. But I have a list of those hospitals who were used by Hamas as well. And it's mainly because they know that Israel have rules of war, and they abide by the rule of war.
You abide by international law, you have strict rules for your forces. We've seen videos, surveillance videos from hospitals inside the West Bank, where your special forces storm into the hospitals dressed up as civilian Palestinians, dressed up in medical gear, in uniforms, carrying weapons, storming in, finding their target, who was a Palestinian militant, being treated at the hospital, assassinating 3 people in a room, and then leaving. Is that abiding by international law? Sending special forces disguised as medical crew, medical staff, with weapons, killing the people you're after?
Our enemies are vicious.
So you're going to do the same as them?
Hold on. We know what's in front of us, and we know what will happen if we wait silently sometimes for them to attack, like what happened on the 7th of October, because we didn't act before against Hamas. We should. So the 7th of October would have never happened. When there's an archi-terrorist who would have committed crime and murdered innocent civilian, if I can eliminate him with the least casualties instead of going into a full confrontation and a war, I think that me and you should prefer the one with less casualties.
You've arrested thousands of Palestinians in the West Bank. You could have arrested the man being treated there. Why do you send special forces into a hospital which is protected by international law and assassinate a patient? You could have arrested him and taken him into custody.
If you want
taken him to court.
as I said,
you're a democracy. But you're saying you're justifying the extrajudicial killing of your enemy inside a hospital.
If you
and
want
then
me
you say
to
you're a
look,
democracy.
If you want me to look into a specific case, I'll be more than happy to get the details of that specific case.
And I will provide you with the videos
share,
of your forces entering the hospital.
I believe there's videos, okay? I explained to you what's the principles that actually guides us. But if you are really interested in the facts, I'm more than happy to get the information about this specific case and explain to you what was behind it as well.
Good. 1,400 health workers in Gaza have been killed by your forces in the past 18 months. 1,400. That's not single incidents, that's a lot of incidents. Last month, IDF soldiers opened fire and killed 14 health and rescue workers, spraying them with bullets, then burying them with their cars in a mass grave along the road. Have any soldiers been held accountable for the mass killing of 14 health workers inside Gaza?
Our soldiers are working in a very difficult environment. It's a war. It's a very intense war. Where our enemy is using and abusing a lot of medical facility, disguise himself in many cases as medical personnel, using...
Like your forces?
Your
forces disguise themselves as doctors.
As I said, I can talk about in details about a specific event.
Mrs. Haskel, in this specific case, and I know you know what I'm talking about, you've seen the videos, your ministry has commented on these things, there's been an investigation by the IDF where you changed your version of the story. First, your foreign minister said the ambulances were moving in a suspicious way without their signal lighting on. Then the video appeared of the ambulances in the middle of the night, driving slowly on a dirt road with their emergency lights on, and then firing starts at them. And then your forces bury them in a mass grave. I mean, you're saying it's not intentional? Why hide what you're doing? If it was a mistake, why not call the UN and say, listen, we made a mistake, we shot at 6 ambulances and a fire truck, please come and look at what happened here. What your forces did, they killed these people, then they buried them in a mass grave. And it took the UN 7 days to get to the site.
Israel has a robust judicial system, and in our military, we're a democratic state. We have many checks and balances, and there's accountability as well.
So who was held accountable for this mass killing?
Were mistakes being made? Yes. But those soldiers, just before that, were in a full confrontation with Hamas terrorists, just before this case. And so in this case, after it was investigated, people were moved, people were discharged, and I think the investigation is still going on.
So you
but
think
there's
it's sufficient?
accountability.
You think it's sufficient that 2 commanders are removed from their positions after 14 innocent health workers are gunned down?
I think that our system...
Because in any other democracy, that soldier would be sent to court, and he would be sentenced, and he would be sent to jail. What you do, you suspend them.
In any case, no matter what I'll